ByuN is an animal. So ByuN, of course, for those who don't know, ByuN, he goes full degen. He goes full degen for the open cups. What I mean by that is that ByuN, he plays in the TvT Monday, he plays in the KSRC, and he also plays in this tournament as well. So as soon as I joined the lobby, I was like, ByuN, did you sleep? He said, I've slept for 1 hour. I'm like, mates, what's going on? He's like, I will soon be. It's over, Bobby. It's over. I'm feeling dead. Este ByuN. Ay. It's not just ByuN, but you know, Max, Pax, and Clem as well. They go full degen. They stay up late into the night to play in these tournaments. They barely get any sleep on Mondays. Animals, Bobby, animals. Regardless, here we go. We're jumping into our next series, and spawning in the top right-hand corner of late lines, we have the red Terran player from South Korea representing Shopify Rebellion. It is ByuN. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have the blue Terran player representing the Platinum Heroes. It is Nicoract. And if you're in the chat, predictions now open. Place your bets on who you think will take the series. Best of luck in the chat as you embrace this TvT. But I guess at least ByuN did get an hour nap. True, it could be worse, right? Could be worse. He could just be pulling a full-on all-nighter. At least he got a little bit of rest. As we do embrace this series. Just catching him in the chat. Is it just me, or does Lunacy always pick the cyan color? He does. There's a couple of players like that they always go for their color of choice. I think I want to say Art always goes for pink. I feel like there's a lot of Protoss players that go for pink and purple more often than not. Lunacy always going for teal or cyan. I want to say there's a player that always goes for green, but I can't quite recall. It's in the back of my mind. But now though, we're settling in. Is going to be a double gas opener out of ByuN, going for a Rax into Factory, a delayed CC. Likewise, Nicoract doing the same. Is going for a mirrored build so far. Everything looking as it should. I think ByuN will feel like he's playing games in his dreams. True. Would not be surprised. That's happened to me, by the way, where obviously not so much for playing, but because we do so much casting here on the channel, especially during like EPT, we have like 14, 15, 16 hour like casting days. I have reached the point where I cast in my sleep as well. That has happened. No. I'm sure some of these players, they play in their sleep as well. ByuN included. Ay. As we do see, Nicoract is continuing Reaper production. Did go Reacted Reaper here back at home, so he would be continuing Reapers into Hellion. Meanwhile, ByuN did go for an add-on swap instead, or I say add-on swap, is going for the Tech Lab or the Factory, is going for the earlier Cyclone instead. There's a lot to go over there, but the first two Reapers do get into the mineral line. One SCV up is going to go down. Two SCVs even, not bad. Two SCV kills, Reaper gets a full scout, gets eyes on the 111 and on the add-onless Factory. Does confirm all the Reaper Hellion. ByuN knows to be more defensive back at home to get ready for the counterattack. Speaking of counterattack, something that I should mention is that this is the old Cyclone. What does that mean? That means you can no longer react at Cyclones. It means a Tech Lab is required for that Cyclone. I should also emphasize, this is the old Cyclone, not the old Cyclone. This is not the one that was wreaking havoc earlier this year, and we saw like mass Cyclone wars and all that nonsense. The one before that. Magfield Accelerators is back, is what I should say. As Reaper Hellion does get into the mineral line. Not too bad, getting two SCVs, getting a third, and soon to be a fourth. 4 SCV kills. Nicoract does get out, and does pull away. As it settles, Nicoract, I should say the worker counts are pretty neck and neck. Economies are quite similar. But when it comes to the overall army, that's where I have to favor ByuN. These Cyclones, they scale a little bit better into the mid-game. They're not ideal, like in a head-to-head fight, but they have a little bit more utility than Reaper Hellion, for example. So ByuN is looking quite secure, getting to his own tank production, Raven as well. Likewise, Nicoract doing something similar, investing into Interference Matrix and his own tanks. So we are settling in. Sometimes I'm dreaming in English after a long time on Twitch. I'm French, by the way. Oh god. Oh no. I can see that makes sense. Oh. As Nicoract does set up here at the natural. Third CC on the way for ByuN. This is a lot more common amongst the Korean Terran players. I mean, I say Korean Terrans. A lot of the top Terrans where they would just rush into a third base here in TvT. Nicoract not too far behind. Third base also on the way. So we're settling in. We can finally settle into a longer game state. We haven't seen too much mid-game yet so far. We've had a very chaotic set of matches so far on stream. But now we can calm things down. At least a little bit. Getting to our thirds, working towards our upgrades. ByuN has a very unique style of TvT, often does go very bio heavy. Instead, he skips Vikings and goes for a more marine heavy composition. We'll see how Nicoract does approach this, how he does kind of bring his army together. Stim also on the way. No one is embracing mech, not yet. Not in game 1. E-bays are being thrown down. Getting to those 1-1 upgrades. We'll have some time here to embrace this. As I mentioned before, ByuN usually does delay Viking production, and you can see here Nicoract embracing it, so he's going for air control. Vikings, they do have their place in TvT, and which is also why ByuN's style can be quite difficult to emulate. Essentially, ByuN, he's looking for more like positional play, trying to outposition his opponent, going for drop play as well, getting into the main, picking off Vikings, picking off tanks whenever he can, catching them unsieged. It's a very active style for ByuN. As Nicoract, he does break out, it does establish his third. Building up more Vikings. Of course, Nicoract's style is a little bit more slower. Is designed to, of course, gain air control, allow for his tanks to outrange and outsiege ByuN, allow for his Ravens to go uncontested as well. So a very different approach to TvT between Nicoract and ByuN. The other big advantage for ByuN isn't just his Mass Marine, but his upgrades. 1-1 is halfway done at this point for ByuN. E-bays, they are just now finishing up, and upgrades just started for Nicoract. So there's going to be a window where ByuN has the 1-1 upgrade advantage over his opponent. And he can try to make use of it. More Vikings amassing for Nicoract. Scans a third, gets eyes, does confirm that it has been placed. And ByuN, there are not many Marines here for the Blue Terran. He can disable the tanks, he can stim in. He's going for it. He's going for it. Tanks, they are getting within range. Marines, they can get the first tank. First tank goes down. ByuN pulls back. Biding his time. Ravens, they bust into the main base, going for some auto-tart harass. Auto-tarts get thrown down. We do have the counter disable. He does unsiege just in time. Oh my god, ByuN! He's able to unsiege. He gets away. 12 SCV kills in the main, 13 SCVs. Does a solid amount of economic damage, saves his tanks, and he backs off. So nice pickles here by ByuN. The one downside is that ByuN did lose one of his Ravens. True. Did lose a Raven. Meanwhile, double drop towards the left-hand side. And again, it's on ByuN to try to pull Nicoract apart. ByuN, he cannot fight this head-on, but it's not about that. It's about hitting the natural, the main, the third. It's about catching Nicoract out of position. As Nicoract moves out, and ByuN moves in. Double drop behind the mineral line. Tank is within range. First tank is going to fall. Ooh, massive tank volleys. The army sims in. And ByuN won't quite get the tank, but he gets 8 SCVs. 8 SCVs go down. This should be cleaned up. And Nicoract, he's committing. The sim! The Marines! Up! Gets a Raven. Oh my god. Gets one Raven. There's one Raven left. Massive pickoff here for ByuN. Again, just catching Nicoract a little bit inattentive to his army. There's that first Order Taurus. One tank falls. Again, Nicoract, he does have the tank lead. And he's slowly pushing forward. ByuN setting up a counter attack. He could try to come in from behind and try to collapse on the army. One medevac falls. Oh, those the Cyclones from the start of the game, they're still out there. They're still being active. Oh, nice position here for Nicoract. Does get another tank. Shelling away at the mineral line, going for the CC. I mean, hey, Nicoract, he's gaining ground. He's doing well. Drop behind the mineral line as well in the natural. Oh no, once again, the Raven gets caught out. ByuN. Nicoract was otherwise preoccupied. He was focusing elsewhere. The job goes down, and ByuN can now focus on the main army. He sniped the Raven. On top of that, Nicoract also unaware of the fourth. It's turning into a planetary as we speak. Oh! Sable's popping off, and ByuN pulls the boys. He's collapsing in. Cleans up every single tank. The entire army of Nicoract is going to go down. Reinforcements on the way, but they're a little too late. Plenty of Marines here in the main. And again, this is how ByuN approaches TvT. Who needs tanks? Who needs Viking? Just mass Marine, papi. That's all you need. He sims and he wins. The Cyclones, they come in from behind. They shut down the medevacs. They at least two of them to escape. The tanks go down. And Nicoract, he just doesn't have much left over. Oh. Doing whatever he can. Medevac falls. Vikings as well. Nicoract gets cleaned up. Still has a comparable force to ByuN, but did lose that tank lead. Oh, the medevacs. Oh, medevacs goes down. ByuN will lose one of his tanks. Has to respect the army. Has to back off. Waiting for his reinforcements. Nicoract going to be the first to siege. Nicoract almost gets a tank. Almost. Bearing in mind that ByuN has an upgrade advantage. He's got 2-2. Nicoract, he only has 1-1. But that is about to change. Upgrades finishing up in a couple of seconds. ByuN reestablishes his third base. He's up in economy, up in workers. Looking at the army supply here, Nicoract still has a tank advantage over his opponent. And 2-2 is now going to be kicking in. So the upgrades are going to be even. At least until ByuN gets into 3-3, which is halfway there. Meanwhile, ByuN out of position. Nicoract, he could try to go for these northern expansions. He's moving in. It does spin forward. Planetary is exposed. Nice pickup. Gets the planetary, gets the SCV line as well. 15 SCVs go down. ByuN at the same time going for a counterattack. ByuN stimming in. He gets one, he gets two, he gets three tanks. Oh, he does have the bit of concave as well. ByuN takes the fight. Oh my god. That I was not so sure about. Does take the fight. Does deny the fifth. Sorry, the fourth even. ByuN may have lost an expansion, but he still has now a replacement fourth finishing up. And he's dropping. Does think about it. Scans ahead of time, spots the Marines. Pulls back. Nicoract, he's holding on. Meanwhile, ByuN now has regained map control. Being active once again. Triple drop behind the mineral line, going for the upgrades. The tank volleys are brutal. And ByuN will deny +3. At least one of the upgrades. +3 armor is denied. Can he get +3 attack? No shot. He can get the tank. Tank goes down, a couple of SCVs. Once again, a better trade here for ByuN. I mean, that's the power of 3-3. Breaking the third is still going to be difficult, though. Again, there's high ground, there's a choke point. It's not easy pushing into all these tanks. But the reality is, ByuN doesn't need to. All he has to do, his win condition, deny the fourth. Deny the fourth base over and over again. Contain Nicoract. And take the map. Nicoract, he does slip away. Does sneak out with a double drop. But there's a planetary to defend. Marines, they jump back in. Boys are being pulled. So nice trade there for ByuN. Once again, he scans ahead of time. ByuN is maxed out. Meanwhile, Nicoract going for the third CC. But ByuN is ready. He has reinforcements. Does deflect at the same time. Main army pushing in. And it looks like it's just too much. Nicoract, he's contained on 3 bases. GG gets called. He taps out, and ByuN takes game number 1. Whew. GG. GG, well played. Once again, ByuN just flexing his own unique style. I mean, I say own unique style. Other players do emulate it relatively every now and then. Players like Clem, Maru, even Gumiho as well. They do mix it in from time to time, but no one does it as often as ByuN does. Doesn't make it his own. GG, well played. ByuN does take a lead, and we'll see if Nicoract can bring it back. See if he can bring it back here as we're getting ready for game number 2. It's going to be on Ultra Love. Just catching up. It's only 9:20 p.m. Get some rest, Matthew. Get some rest. It can be difficult keeping up with all these StarCraft tournaments, right? Like we have Alima League in how many hours? Like 7 hours time? Alima League is later tonight. And I will try to force myself to sleep before Alima League. I'll do my best. Yeah, do my best. But before that, we can, of course, focus on this tournament here. And spawning in the top right-hand corner of Ultra Love, we have the Red Terran player, the South Korean Terran representing Shopify Rebellion, leading the series 1-0. It is ByuN. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the Blue Terran for the Platinum Heroes. It is Nicoract. Nicoract definitely had his own moments in that last game, but there were definitely some key mistakes that ByuN was able to capitalize on. We saw that there were some key moments where Nicoract, he was otherwise preoccupied either defending or focusing on his own drop play, where ByuN was able to take advantage of that inattention and able to snipe, you know, a Viking here and there, a tank here and there, a Raven here and there. More importantly, we saw both Ravens go down in that kind of instance where Nicoract was otherwise focusing his attention elsewhere, and yeah, ByuN just pulling apart that attention, taking advantage of Nicoract, and pulling him apart with that more mobile, more active Marine style, Mass Bio style. So we'll see how Nicoract does adjust as we're getting ready for game 2, and we already have some different openers. We have a Rax Expand economic opener here by ByuN. Meanwhile, Nicoract, once again, double gas. Now, last game we saw that Nicoract, he went double gas into Reactored Reaper Hellion, which was able to get some SCV kills across the map. We'll see if Nicoract does embrace that again for a second time, or go for something different here. This can also lead into Cyclone production, as we saw in the previous game from ByuN. It can lead into Cyclones, it can lead into even a 1-1-1 into earlier tank production, into a tank drop, into early Banshees. Nicoract has options. Meanwhile, ByuN expands. So ByuN will have the slightly better economy here early on. Nicoract will have the faster tech. That factory is on the way. There's a reactor on the rack. So once again, it looks like Reactored Reaper Hellion so far. We'll see if it does head in the same direction. Reaper moves out for Nicoract. Marine is in position. And the Reaper is deflected, is denied. So far, so good. ByuN denies the scouts, chasing down the Reaper. This is also why you don't want to move out with your first Reaper. Does get quite low, but looks like it should get away. Oh god. I say should, the SCV is low as well. Oh, the Reaper goes down. SCV, this is brutal. Oh my god. Nicoract taking a lot of losses here early on, and he's not able to punish. Is going Reactored Reaper, but he already lost one. That's a big blow actually to Nicoract, as every unit counts early on. And ByuN, he wants another SCV. He shouldn't get it though. No shot. Up! Oh my god. Barely doesn't get it. One shot away from going down. Nicoract, he saves his worker. Back at home, ByuN just settling in. His own marine production, Hellions, tech lab on the factory. Here comes Nicoract. The pressure is on the blue Terran. He is moving out. ByuN has the high ground. He's got the concave. He's ready here for the army. A massive Hellion volley going up. Yeah, the splash damage is brutal, and he will be able to clean up most of this army. It's going to come down to one final Hellion. Boys are being put to repair. Oh, just in time. Does repair the Hellion, but Nicoract does get in for a full scout. Does confirm the 1-1-1 setup. The Cyclone production. Oh, this time ByuN opening up with the single Viking. Interesting. Second tech lab's on the way. This should be for a tank Raven. You want Nicoract back at home, getting to his own tank Raven production, and settling in. Okay, as the dust does settle, ByuN still maintains a worker lead. The reason for this, I mean, one, ByuN was able to delay the expansion, able to get some worker kills early on, but more importantly, if you remember, it was a CC, it was a faster command center for ByuN when it came to the initial build. It was a more economic start, and he maintains that economic lead. ByuN, he is slightly ahead economically. Meanwhile, Nicoract just building up. Third TC is on the way for ByuN, so he's just looking to get further ahead in that economy as well. Working towards the mid game. And Nicoract has yet to really make that choice to make that, well, to try to take that chance here to expand, to take a third. Still 2 bases. Still building up. Wait to see if he does throw down extra Raxes. Extra tech. As this is quite a lead here for the third base. ByuN, it's almost done. The third is almost completed. You know, Nicoract's still just building up. Getting a third Raven. And there it is. Now we have the third CC on the way. But it is quite delayed here for Nicoract in comparison to the third of ByuN. Scan reveals the army. Does actually see the third CC timing as well. Ay, ay, ay. ByuN knows. He knows how far ahead he is. And he should be feeling quite comfortable. This time getting to a more secure Viking count as well. So this time we do see ByuN kind of embracing a more standard style of TvT. Building up more Vikings, more tanks. Delayed upgrades for the ByuN compared to last game. Nicoract does move out. Right now the pressure is on the blue Terran to delay the third, right? Delay the third base for as long as possible while he gets his own. As Nicoract is roaming. ByuN still has yet to break out. So just waiting for reinforcements. Vikings have arrived. Now we can try to shark around and try to hunt down those Ravens of Nicoract. He's so close. And Nicoract, he sees the setup. He does back off. He's getting his own third. Orbital's not done. And now it's going to be landed. I mean, again, Nicoract, he has map control. He can now take his third. ByuN has yet to do so. He's setting up for it. Spots the main army. ByuN should be looking to break out. There we go. There's ByuN Siege. But who catches who? Nicoract, he rotates around. He's trying to catch out those tanks. Oh! ByuN, he does respond in time. Yeah, massive disables here on the tanks. Likewise, counter disables as well. And Nicoract, can he break through? Takes down the auto turrets, but cannot push onto the high ground. Disable's about to run out. And ByuN, he's holding the tanks. He still has the high ground. The tank boys going off. Vikings, they land, and Nicoract gets completely cleaned up. Ugh. The Ravens, the tanks, everything goes down. Brutal losses for Nicoract. And now ByuN can counterattack. Now ByuN, he has that map control. Maintains the Vikings, maintains most of his tanks. Looking at the unit count here, Nicoract, he is down to 1 tank compared to the 4 of ByuN. Again, I don't blame Nicoract for pushing in there. I mean, ByuN was kind of caught unawares and he was unprepared. Despite that, Nicoract, he just did not have enough to get on top of those tanks in time. Okay, we're good. I was like, we're still getting upgrades. Stim is done, just getting into combat shields. 4 CC on location for ByuN. I mean, he feels confident, comfortable to do so. He's confident. As Nicoract, he does catch out some of those Marines, not bad. The Marines, 2-2s on the way. Armory just not finishing for Nicoract. It was a little bit more delayed. But ByuN didn't counterattack. He had the option to, true, but did just chill back at home, just getting further ahead. Taking more bases, taking more expansions. Lowering down sensor towers. Again, just a very different approach this time from ByuN. It does make sense on Ultra Love. This is a much more defendable map, much more. I mean, there are so many choke points and ramps. Harder to really push in. That does spot the main army. He also spotted the double drop on the right hand side. ByuN bleeding out some SCVs. They'll teach! No! ByuN, he wants them! He gets one! One tank goes down. Thankfully, Nicoract, he saves the other 2. Ooh. Does save them. Nicoract getting his own 4th base. ByuN maintains the supply lead. And is about to finish up with 2-2. 2-2 upgrades about to finish. Meanwhile, ByuN, he's done with Vikings. He still has 4 Vikings left over, but now he is going back to his mass Marine. Making 9 Marines at a time. Nicoract going mass starport. Okay, Nicoract getting ready for a longer, later game. Oh, that's a kill, not a cancel. 400 minerals down the drain. Nicoract diving in. ByuN out of position. Nicoract gets a tank. And ByuN instead goes for a massive counterattack, and there's nothing to defend the 3rd. Oof. 3rd base should be going down. Say that ByuN trying to engage with the main army, but there we go. Does turn back around. Goes for the mineral line instead. SCVs are falling. At the same time, ByuN, he breaks out back at home. Gets 21 SCVs. Main army turns around as well. ByuN is overstimmed. Oh my god, takes out every single medevac. Jesus. ByuN, calm down. Picked up the tanks back at home. Got the medevacs across the map. Got the mineral line. And ByuN is almost maxed. He's almost maxed out at this point. Ay. Just pulling Nicoract apart. Again, Nicoract, he just wasn't set up to defend. He was hoping he could be the one with map control, be more active. Oh my god, massive tank shots. Nicoract, he cannot push into this. Not this kind of army. He can't push into 13 tanks. That's a lot of tanks. ByuN sims out. Upgrades are neck and neck. Look at the tank count heavily in favor of ByuN. Gets the final tank. Nicoract forced to back off. Oh my god. Decent tank shots there from Nicoract. Takes out most of the ByuN. And once again here as well. ByuN was caught within range. But he can always just rotate, right? He doesn't have to push into this position. He can rotate over towards the 4th. There are no tanks ready for this, just a planetary. ByuN sieging up. Does head towards the 4th expansion. Spots the 5th. And tanks it within range of the planetary. He steps in, goes for the dive. Oh my god. They're forcing Nicoract to engage. And this is just a fight that Nicoract cannot take. Not like this. He's now getting into Raven production. That will help, but he needs more time. Oh my god. He needs more time, but he's not going to get it. The Marines go down. ByuN stims in. He gets punished for the stim, though. Again, it's not easy breaking these positions, but GG gets called. Nicoract, he runs out of steam, and ByuN will take the series 2-0. GG. GG, well played. ByuN, he will take it, will advance on into the next round. I mean, ByuN was favored coming into this, but a shout out to Nicoract for holding his own, for having his own, again, moments as well here in this game. But, yeah, ByuN, it was great to see just two different styles, right? Game 1 was more bio-heavy, more marine focused for ByuN, very active, very mobile. Game 2, ByuN was the defender for the most part. He was the defender, he was trying to absorb the blows of Nicoract, taking these better fights defensively before counterattacking, before gaining map control. So again, a very different dynamic from ByuN. I do think that's just a really good way to approach Ultra Love. We've spoken about that in the past, but Ultra Love is one of the more defendable maps just because of how many choke points and how many ramps there are. It can be very difficult to break these entrenched positions with all these tank lines. We saw that Nicoract, because he was being active and aggressive, he wasn't as set up back at home, right? We saw multiple times he was caught without any tanks in position, without his bases fortified, and ByuN was able to abuse that in the later game. With that, GG. With that, GG, well played. ByuN will advance on into the next round, and the question becomes, who will face off against him? Exclamation mark, be in the chat if you guys want to have a look at the back of yourselves.